Hi, it's Norman Koshnick here from Xtra Time. In Australia, the time here is almost 4 a.m., but I'm certainly up and I'm very excited about the way that we've seen a match today where the Delhi Capitals, in fact, in my words, have actually pulverised the Chennai Super Kings. It's quite incredible how the match has gone. It's been a very convincing display by Delhi Capitals, led by, of course, Rishabh Pant. The incredible batting from Shikhar Dhawan and Prithvi Shaw has been an incredible performance indeed. An admirable bowling performance as well, considering a number of their leading bowlers are not here today. The likes of Ishan Sharma, the Norjays, the Rabadas are all not in the side, but they still were able to handle themselves very capably indeed. We're actually joined by three very, very distinguished gentlemen. I mean, I'm distinguished, of course, as well, but I will go to the people first. In fact, Sumitra, in fact, is here, and your actual role, Sumitra, is Manshakani. You're actually, I'll get it right. My apologies. I'll get the names wrong to start with. It's terrible. Naresh Manshakani, of course, and Sumitra Bose, who are both very distinguished journalists from India. On top of that, we have a very, very established young Debash Sen from Xtra Time, and the three of us, including myself, will go about dismantling this game and talking about how, in fact, Delhi Capitals have actually been very capable in the way they've played. I must say up front, I've had a very strong opinion about Delhi Capitals, the balance of their side. They should have been called unbalanced or in a state of a lack of balance today because of the number of players they've had out. But they handle themselves very, very much in the way that you'd expect them to. And CSK concerned me greatly as to their quality side. And there's been some pundits that actually quoted as saying that CSK would actually come last in the IPL. I'm afraid the first game has shown up quite distinctly the efforts of CSK. There are some concerns around their batting and some around their bowling. Debash Sen, we might turn to you first and get your opinion on today's match. What's your vote? Now, you were Debash, before the match, you were very, very pro CSK. In fact, you are from Kolkata, aren't you? But some would say you're temporarily from Chennai, the way you were talking about them before the match. But I'm afraid they didn't live up to your expectations, did they?
Obviously, 118.8 was a decent target, I would say. It means, and especially the likes of Sam Curran and Ravindra Jadeja playing the long handle towards 10 means, and there was a lot of promise. Means I for once felt that come on, they have a decent total, and they would make a match out of it. But then Delhi openers were too good, particularly Prithvi Shaw. He's sort of just taken off from where he left in the Vijay Hazare Trophy, scoring 4 back-to-back hundreds and helping Mumbai win the title. And then means he was just brilliant. And so Shikhar Dhawan at times he comes across as a very underrated cricketer. And he showed once again what a player he is, what an opener he is. And it augurs well for Delhi Capitals, obviously, and it was a very, very convincing win, I would say. We must definitely accept that the brand of cricket Delhi Capitals plays has showed a lot of promise, and I think one guy would be very, very happy in that DC dressing room is Ricky Ponting. So obviously, with Shreya Shire getting injured, just not being available for this season, and Rishabh Pant making his debut as a captain, so it is all very good sign for Delhi Capitals to start with.
No doubt. In fact, you'd have to argue the very start when Faf du Plessis got out third ball, LBW, they're on the back foot from the start, weren't they, really, the way that their team looked. Stephen Fleming has a lot to discuss, I think, post-game. I'm sure the post-match conference that he will have to undertake will be very interesting as well, his role. Sumitra, what's your take on the match?
I think it was a great start for Delhi, considering. But what worked in their favor is the fact that the most of the players have had a lot of game time coming into IPL, especially Shikhar. You see Prithvi Shaw, Rishabh Pant, Ajinkya Rahane. Everybody has played a lot of cricket, especially, and all of them have scored a lot of runs. As Debashis mentioned, that Prithvi was out of the Indian team after the Australian series, and then he has really worked on his batting and the modifications that he has done in his approach has worked very well for him today. Shikhar has been among the runs. He scored 98 in the last ODI match, and then he scored another 60. The best thing about Delhi was definitely rusty, and it showed in the way they played, the way they batted. That's why 7 for 2 after that 188 runs is a good score, but at the end of the day, it wasn't enough. And I think the teams who are playing in Mumbai will take a lot of lessons from this match, and it's very clear that 188 is not a safe score. Something around 200 would be a more fighting total.
Very well said. And we did underestimate Shikhar Dhawan. Every single time he plays, this discussion around punt or other players in the team, we tend to forget how good Dhawan actually is. He keeps showing his ability to play the way that he does. He does it with great ease. He's got incredible confidence about his batting. Very good.
I just wanted to add something. The day he scored 98 against England, he came for the press conference, and he was in great mood because he scored 98, and he said something very funny. He said, the elephant shows one teeth, but when he bites and chews, he uses another teeth. So what he meant was, what you see is not what I am. I am what I am. So he used the elephant analogy that when you see the tusks, those are not his actual teeth. What you bite from inside, that's his. That's what Shikhar Dhawan is. And Rohit said that nothing is final. We still don't know what is going to be. At the end of the day, India have to prepare their 15 or 16 members for the World T20. And all these matches will all count. And Shikhar is one really hungry fellow who wants to get in there because he's out of the T20 equation right now.
And that's true. After the first T20 match of the series against England, he was effectively dropped, wasn't he?
Absolutely. Yes.
It was, when you look at it, it was quite harsh in the scheme of things. Certainly was. And yeah, you're right. It's quite incredible.
And Virat said that he was not India's top 2 openers. He was the number 3. For a veteran batsman, and where the captain himself says that he is not 1, 2, but 3, it definitely hurts him at some stage. So he's out. Yeah. So you know how it is, and he's a senior player. He's not a young boy.
Now, Naresh, you look rather very resplendent with your longer hair. I mean, I used to have long hair like that. You look about 20, in fact, in my observations.
It's the lockdown hair. I'm in Pune. Everything is shut. We are under lockdown. Yeah. I just want to add on Shikhar Dhawan.
Talk about
yes,
Thomas. I was just going to jokingly say, I got your
he's around. Yeah.
Sorry, there's a bit of delay. Speak, Naresh.
Yeah. So Shikhar Dhawan, he's been around for a while. I mean, he's 35 now. He's a member, but what the young carrying around, it's rubbing off him. He's not going to give up that easily. That fighting spirit of making each opportunity count. That's what he's done. Against England when he got the opportunity in ODIs, he proved it. Here he's opening. Last year he made a record of 2 back-to-back hundreds in IPL. So he's a force to reckon. It's not going to be easy to do him out. And as was mentioned about the World Cup, selectors would have some hard work to do. Yes, Ishan Kishan is exciting. He's a youngster opener, but you cannot rule out Shikhar Dhawan.
Absolutely. The reality is India has one massive headache in terms of a national team. Who the hell are they going to pick in the side? They've got such a plethora of players, with Prithvi Shaw also knocking on the door yet again, with obviously the likes of Darwan and Ishan Kishan and obviously Rohit Sharma, and then Kohli wanting to open. There seems to be an endless supply of openers, and no matter what they do, they're going to have to leave someone out, aren't they? Naresh, what about your take of the way that Chennai Super Kings played today?
Yeah, they lack match practice. Yeah, initially, and Wankhede is very typical. Initially you see some movement off the seam, and you saw that when Faf got LBW and Ruturaj got the edge. But it was very heartening to see the way Suresh Raina has made a comeback. Long break. He didn't play the last years. The only year he has made IPL since inception was last year, but he looked in good nick. And last year Chennai missed him because they were struggling in the middle order to score fast. And today, what Suresh Raina did was take care of that aspect of scoring fast. So 188 for a first game for a team which got much of match practice was a good score. It's that the attack against Chennai bowlers was very aggressive. The huge difference. Chennai lost 2 wickets first couple of overs, but Delhi just took it away. The first 6 overs was 65 without loss, and that's a huge difference.
I think I said in the pre-show with the likes of Nikhil and Nas that the top three batters are all important in both sides. And let's be honest, Chennai Super Kings were quite underdone there. The word rusty has certainly been used, but let's be honest, a lot of the teams will be somewhat rusty. A lot of players will be somewhat rusty, so they shouldn't be using that as an ultimate excuse. Moeen Ali at first drop, I'm not sure that's his position. He did get 36, but I mean, Suresh Raina certainly can not push that to one side about being rusty or being too old. He did hit 4 sixes in his innings, and he looked particularly aggressive. And no wonder Suresh Raina is still around, because he's still a premium batsman, let's be honest. But the general makeup of the side was quite disappointing. Jadeja, clearly having had his injuries and coming back as a first game, was better for it, and he looked good as well. So I think I was probably most disappointed with the positioning and the batting order of Sam Curran. Considering the form that he has been in, why did he should have batted a lot higher, I would have thought. What do you guys think? Debashis?
Yeah, surely. In fact, Sam is a very utility. He should be used more as a floater rather than giving a fixed spot for him, because he can hit the ball really hard, and he's proved that today as well. So Dhoni, as far as we have seen him for all the years he's leading, he loves to follow processes. He's not, he's done the same thing with his own batting order. I mean, he has very rigid ideas, and sometimes how many times have you seen him batting at number 4? Very few, but he would still reckon bat 6 or 7. So he would perhaps in the first game not experiment too much with Sam Curran. But yes, I mean, you still have a Bravo right there, so he can also make a lot of difference. But I guess in the first few matches, he would still go with the traditional batting lineup.
Well, let's just have a quick look at Sam Curran. He got 34 runs off 15 balls, and he was certainly in a mood, wasn't he, where he left off when he scored 95. Very impressive young man, and could be the key to Chennai Super Kings' ability to bring themselves from the bottom of the table in this series. They've got to, in my opinion, utilise him well, because he is in form and he's very much used to the conditions there. And again, I know what you're saying about Dhoni's processes, but I would have put him up earlier. I would have, in fact, had him first drop as opposed to Moeen Ali. It could have made quite a distinct difference to the way that Chennai Super Kings batted, to be honest. Debashis, I know you're a bit down, and you brought up a stat there from one of our fans saying what are the negatives for CSK out of today's match? Can you answer that for us?
Yeah, obviously, the sheer fact is that when you talk about Dhoni, he definitely looked a bit rusty out of match practice. Obviously, he's playing a competitive match after a gap of 161 days. So, and it's not easy for a format like IPL, and you cannot waste much of a time. So and we know, and it was the ball that he got out, it was a length ball, so as to say. And Dhoni in his prime would have dispatched those deliveries into the stands on any given day. but that was not the case. Means, but then, especially if you talk about CSK, I think you need a lot of inspiration from Dhoni, and he should be leading from the front, which he always does. And but then I think it was a tad unfortunate, particularly to the Dhoni fans. Means obviously getting getting out. But I would definitely would have loved to see Sam Curran walking before Dhoni, because he looked the informed batsman. He was in great touch in the last match against India in the recently concluded one ODI series, and he almost won the match against India. So I think the Chennai Super Kings, the one negativity that CSK needs to sort out is that to sort out the batting order. Obviously, you had the likes of when you buy Robin Uthappa, someone like Robin Uthappa, and you make him sit at the reserve bench. And obviously, there must be some logic. Obviously, you need to send him up the order, because he can be your pinch hitter kind of a thing, because he has done well for KKR over the past and Mumbai Indians. So, Chennai Super Kings needs to sort out these issues if they have to bounce back.
Absolutely. I mean, we are talking about their batting quite a bit here, but their bowling left a lot to be desired on the day as well. Let's not forget that Delhi did cruise quite substantially to that victory, and their bowling, quite frankly, it's funny how we talk about the batting and the failures of the batting, but in fact, the bowling was what really let them down. If you look at some of the statistics, in fact, Shardul Thakur he did take 2 wickets, but he was ultra expensive, wasn't he? With some 14 runs per over. That was quite disappointing for Shardul, because he bowled so well throughout the series against England. And Jadeja, you would argue, was a little bit raw, but he still looked okay. But yeah, Dwayne Bravo, he bowled fairly economically, but in general, they were pretty ineffective, weren't they, the CSK bowlers? Naresh, what do you think?
I agree with you, actually, which was not at all disciplined. Shardul Thakur, if you recollect in the ODIs, he normally tends to be expensive in the beginning, but because of a 10-over spell, when he's got in the second spell or third spell, he has got those breaks for India. It didn't work today at all. He was really very, very expensive, especially Prithvi Shaw, and they both play at the same ground in Wankhede a lot. Both are from Mumbai, so he knows the limitations of Shardul Thakur well. So Dwayne Bravo also looked lack of match practice. Jadeja has come back after a long time, and this wicket had some due later on in the second inning. There was not at all any turn. There is few things for Dhoni to sort out, but it looked like one of those first games where they're still trying to settle down, get some discipline back quickly, because 188, I still felt that it could have been defended.
Yeah, again, we have to be very wary of form after one match. We can't really damn a side after one match. I do agree with you there. CSK may well improve quite dramatically. It may still be a potential threat in the competition, although I have a feeling they won't be. In my opinion, and I've said all along, Delhi Capitals are the most balanced side. Having lost a number of the bowlers, they still perform particularly well. There's an air of hunger, an air of confidence about Delhi, especially under Rishabh Pant, that really stamps something strong. Having Ricky Ponting in their wings as well certainly helps. As we've said all along, they were last, they've run third, they've run second. This should be their year. Sumitra, from your perspective.
Yes, you're quite right. In fact, they are extremely hungry. In fact, the way when they made the team for this year, the players they chose. Say, Steve Smith, for example, was not playing today. And today, the fact that without Rabada, without Anrich Nortje, without Ishan Sharma, that they still could win this match so comprehensively, only talks about the bench strength. And they can only get better from here. You're absolutely right that it is too early. Somebody asked this question, what was so negative about Chennai? it's too early to talk about negatives and positives. It's too early in the match. Like a defeat does not mean negatives, but yes, there are places to work on. I think I don't know if I was Dhoni, I wouldn't have played Darren Bravo. As Dwayne Bravo. So um, Bravo is always going to be a question mark in the Chennai team. So I guess with Fleming around and so much of experience in the back room, they will be able to sort out these things. But as far as Delhi is concerned, they will be extremely hungry, especially after what they did last year and the kind of team that they have, the amount of balance that they have, especially when you have somebody like Marcus Stoinis, who's done some great work, and he was in good touch today. So the good thing is that all the players who came on the party in the park, they showed good form. So that is one good thing. But again, in this brand of cricket, anything can happen. Today, you sort of so we have to see at least 3 to 4 matches before we can really make a comment and say, yeah, this team looks good. Because at one stage last year, we always thought that nobody had the better balance than Delhi, RCB, and Mumbai. But when it came to the playoffs, everything changed. So it's too early. This format of the game, anything can happen. So you have to wait and see. And I think nobody would make a comment and say, no, this is the positive or this is the negative. But the signs that Delhi showed in their opening match are extremely positive. Very good, very strong.
What about Avesh Khan and his bowling efforts today? How would you place Avesh Khan's performance today?
This is the beauty of Indian cricket. I mean, that was a time when we talk about spinners. Now we talk about fast bowlers. Every IPL, every tournament, we find new fast bowlers coming up. Avish Khan is one of them. I mean, and nobody. I think when most of the cricket pundits made their first 11, nobody thought about this boy, but he played today. Everybody backed Umesh Yadav or Ishan Sharma because since Rabada was not there or Norwich wasn't there, but out of the blue, you see this boy. I mean, just like we saw Siraj. I mean, the way he bowled in Australia. I mean, nobody thought he could do such things. But this is the hindsight of team management. This is the hindsight of having people like Ponting, who can gauge the potential of a player during nets. That is why nets are so important. So that is why cricketers make a huge impact. The people who really want to come up make a huge impact, and coaches watch them very closely at the net sessions, and that is what Ponting has done, and he has played our wish.
I beg to differ about one thing there, because I look fantastic in the nets, but when I get out in the middle, I don't look so fantastic. So I'm not sure what the problem is there. Maybe it's a mirage about my batting there, Sumitra. You haven't seen my batting yet, have you? So I'll have to send you some videos. All right.
Oh yes. If you remember, I can tell you one story that when Dhoni came into playing international cricket, and when Ganguly was the captain, and I think Sachin was there. So Sachin was extremely impressed with Dhoni's batting in the nets, and I think we were doing one story with Sachin as an interview, and he told Ganguly in Hindi. I think you may not follow Hindi. ये लड़का का हाथ में जान है. He says means this guy has a lot of life in his arms, because that's the way he batted, the power he generated with his hands. He's not a classical, he's not a classical batsman. He uses a lot of right hand, right, which is technically not allowed but the kind of power he generates with his right hand. So that is the eyesight, that is the foresight of good cricketers, and Ponting is in that level and class. So he can definitely spot the talent in a good batsman or a good bowler. And today we have seen a new fast bowler emerging from IPL, which is Avesh Khan.
Very well said. I very, very much like the way you said that, Sumitra. The interesting point is the best thing about Dhoni is they didn't try and change his technique or his batting style and get that out of his game. Like a Malinga when he bowled for Sri Lanka. They didn't attempt to get rid of his bowling action. Even a Jeff Thompson going back in the day. That's crucial. A good coach will not try to out-coach the player to make him something that he's not. And I think that's very much what you're saying. That natural ability of Dhoni came through, and look what he's done. As sensational as he is.
That's the natural ability of a cricketer, because you cannot mold Dhoni at the age of 22. He has already kind of molded himself in a particular fashion, and he has produced the goods. He is producing the runs. I mean, after that you don't try to tweak, because I know for a fact that a lot of cricketers' careers have been spoiled by the coaches when they have tried to tweak around with what they have done. Like, for example, now can you change Jasprit Bumrah's bowling action? You can't.
No.
Like you mentioned Malinga, like you mentioned Thompson. I mean, everybody cannot have a bowling lineup run up like Michael Holding or Andy Roberts.
Precisely.
But so that is the beauty of sport. I mean, everybody has his own style.
And actually, I think I'll get to Bastards. I'll let you speak in a minute. Bastards is in mourning a little bit because he was so buoyant about CSK before the match, and it hasn't quite lived up to his hopes today. Naresh is back as well. Hi, Naresh.
Sorry. Hi. Sorry. Yeah, I had a power failure. So yeah.
I was a bit worried because it looked like you were asleep, and in fact, the screen was frozen. So I thought we were boring you there for a minute, Naresh. I think I even
no, it's just 11:30. It's not 4 a.m. here, so.
But yeah, it's excused if he was snoring. I'm only joking. But we were talking about some of the players and the way that they've been. Like we were talking about Dhoni's capability with his right hand, the fact that he was unique in his style, and he was allowed to flourish. We were talking about that as well. But one thing, Sumitra, I wanted to bring up about the problems with Australia. Go back to Australia for a moment and their bowling lineup. Obviously, they've got some great bowlers: Hazelwood, Stark, Cummins. But one of the problems with Australian cricket at the moment is our high-performance coaches are trying to make our bowlers more metronome, more precise, more measured. And I think it's taking the natural ability out of them quite considerably. And I must talk about Stark there, because Stark's performance, you would argue, has dropped off over a period of time. Still a great bowler, I'm not knocking him. But Australia's bowlers are being over-coached and over-organised in the way they bowl. Hence, the way they played in the Test series in Australia, India had the better of them quite easily in the end, despite their heroics. That Australia would not able to go to another gear because they've been coached and bowled out of them. And I fear that. And I think the good thing about India is they are allowing a lot of their young players to come through and not touching them, letting their techniques flourish, letting them be innovative, as a way of describing it. And like a Rishabh Pant, you can't coach Rishabh Pant. You can't tell him how to bat. He is who he is, hence why he's so good. And I think that's the key. And if you want my honest opinion, that's the key as to why India are doing so well. Of course, you've got a plethora of players. You've got an enormous number of players to choose from. But they're not over-coaching their players. And I think that's evidenced in the way they bat. And even bowl to an extent as well. I take my hat off to India. That's my observations from Australia, that India are not over-coaching their players, but Australia is. England is somewhere in the middle. Debashis, you've been very quiet.
And I would say, Norman, the thing is that a good thing to have happened for Indian cricket in recent times is the COVID outbreak. It has only helped it to take a bigger squad to wherever they are traveling, be it Australia. You see the likes of Natarajan. He was a net bowler, and then he had an outstanding series in Australia across all the formats, and he has taken the opportunity in his stride. You take Mohammad Siraj, or you take a Navdeep Saini, and I think this COVID break has helped the teams all across the world. I'm not saying only India. For India's case, the good thing to have happened is that they could take a bigger squad, and these net practices are very, very important. Means you can actually gauge a bowler, and they can mix with the bat stars like Virat Kohli or a Rohit Sharma, take their tips, see how they practice, how they prepare themselves for big matches, and you must also attribute the success to IPL. Obviously, IPL is a huge thing to happen for Indian cricket, and that is acceptable. You talk to any cricketers in modern day cricket, and they will just accept it that IPL is the right format, and I think this has helped Indian cricket in a big way. So that daring, that daring attitude they take in, and they are almost match ready invariably. And also I would say that in the A tools means these are the few things that have helped the Indian cricketers, the bench strength. This has helped the bench strength develop.
Absolutely, absolutely. And may I add the fact that if you look at the way that India played the show, I had the privilege of being there personally. I know you can capture it on film, but the live feeling, the raw atmosphere of this Indian team, this we're going to go get that Australians, we're going to go and knock them off, was very evident. And look, Shardul Thakur, Washington Sundar, obviously Rishabh Pant, the Australian audience are phenomenally embracing those players. I think, I'm not sure, Naresh and Sumitra, whether you saw that. I went on the streets of Australia and asked questions about how they felt about the Indian team. It is some of the most riveting conversation I've ever had with a fan of cricket. The way they romanced the Indian players, the way they articulated their love of the Indian cricket was like I was going back to the Lillian Thompson playing. There was something about the way they were talking that was beautiful. The young 12, 13-year-old kids in Australia were talking about Washington Sundar, their idol. It was extremely special. And I don't quite think you realise how much Australia have romanced the way that India have played. It's been stupendous.
Yeah, and I agree with the Devasis on the COVID scenario, because that helped teams carry jumbo squads. Normally if someone is not fit, is replaced, you fly out another player. But here you're taking, after the last IPL, I think there were about 28 members who flew to Australia, and we had already announced the test squad and the white ball squad. But they were all together, so they could practice together, they could discuss strategies together. And then what we saw in the end of Gaba was history, because that test match did not have a frontline bowlers available. Rather, the only experienced bowler available was Kuldeep Yadav, but he didn't get to play. So these guys know that the bench strength is getting so strong that any given opportunity they have to perform. Because there is a man-to-man replacement available now in the Indian bench strength, and there has lots to do and credit given even to the domestic circuit. I think the domestic cricket is improving, getting competitive. And this year we had to call off Ranji Trophy because of COVID. So there has been only white ball cricket, and from those who were not part of Indian squad have played the last IPL, and they are getting into the domestic sector of white ball, and they are again playing IPL and probably getting ready for the World Cup. We don't know the squad yet for World Cup. So it's very good times. For these last 6-8 months have been very good times for Indian cricket.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Now we've got a comment here from Milan Mondal. CSK need Robin Uthappa, to open, and instead have bowlers such as Nagiri or Jason. I'm guessing they mean Jason Holder, do they there?
No, Jason Berdo. Jason Berdo.
Sorry, my apologies. That is true. They've got some depth there that Uthappa should have played. I don't understand why he didn't play at all. I think that was an actual selection
quarantine.
choice.
Probably he has to serve his quarantine. That is why maybe he did not play, because he has to serve those times for quarantine, because he's just coming from Australia, I guess.
Right. I think that's an interesting point about the quarantine of some of the players that have yet to play, such as Quinton de Kock yesterday. I think it's a bit remiss. We don't hear enough about the positions or the timing of their play coming out of quarantine. I think that needs to be better articulated, because we're somewhat left in the dark as to some of the stages that their quarantine are actually at. And certain players seem to have a different type of quarantine. Or am I wrong in saying that the South African players are both Norgay and the likes of Rabada? Are they able to play the second and third game? When are they due to come back?
No, they have come late. They have come late after finishing the series with Pakistan. So it is very nice that they have fulfilled their national commitments before coming to IPL.
That's true.
So, because a lot of players get caught between that conflict between playing for the country and playing IPL. It's very nice that these South Africans have kept their commitments for the national team and then come here. So then once you land in India, then I think it's 7 days that you have to serve.
It's 7 days,
yeah. Assuming that you haven't tested positive for the virus. So I think Jason Beardoff will have to do the same.
See, that's where I'm curious, guys. In Australia, it's a flat 14 days quarantine, period.
Yeah.
No 7, no 3, no 10. It's 14. And I know in America, some of the localized quarantines are as little as 3 days at home. The inconsistencies with lengths of time for quarantine, I'm afraid to say, bewilders me somewhat. I don't quite understand why it isn't a mandatory 14 days. And that's just my thoughts. Worldwide, that is.
Why you don't have to go worldwide? If you just stay in India, every state has a rule. So today, if I have to go to Maharashtra, I have to read up a lot of rules and find out what was the latest rule to fly to Mumbai. Similarly, if Naresh wants to come to Delhi, he might have to read up a lot of rules and find out whether he needs a test to come to. So there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of confusion. That is why what teams are doing, like Calcutta Knight Riders, they've hired chartered flights to go. So the rules are very complicated, but I think what I saw, there have been about 14 pages of protocols to be followed. Now, whether the cricketer will go and practice in the nets to bat or ball or score runs, or will remember 14 pages of protocols. It's a very queer situation, but again, you never know. These are very difficult times, but it's good that IPL is happening, and I hope players will be safe.
Well, I applaud the BCCI and their efforts to get the whole tournament up and running, especially in India. And look at the Test series, the ODI, the T20 series. It's been quite magnificent, really. From an Australian perspective, the fact that you've played the games. We're very lucky in Australia. We don't wear any masks at all. We're free to dance all night, do whatever we want. Not that I'm suggesting that I party and dance all night, guys, just to make that clear. I'm a very, very good boy. I go straight to bed at the right time, so I'm not like that. But just to make that clear. Debashis might disagree with you, but no, I'm certainly a very good boy. You're all smiling. I beg your pardon. You should be very serious in your replies to me. Okay. Debashis, I'm afraid you do look a bit unhappy. Can you explain?
Not the case, Norman. Come on. I'm not unhappy. Obviously, it's as Soumitra has rightly put out, is obviously it's just a first match, so we shouldn't be discussing what's negative or what's positive. And obviously, the IPL is a long tournament. We have to accept it as this IPL is a long tournament. Every team gets to play 14 matches. But then the quicker the Chennai Super Kings regroup themselves, sort out the loopholes and fix their batting lineup. These are some few of the areas. Obviously, if I want to highlight something about the Chennai bowling attack, it's that they lack the pace. You take the instance. Every team has some genuine quick bowlers in their armory. You would see you have Trent Bolt in Mumbai Indians or in most of the teams. But then I think with Jason Behrendorff and Ngidi adding to their side, I think either of them needs to play in all the matches from now on. And obviously, because Deepak Chahar and Shardul Thakur, they might have one off day, but then, and as Soumitra in our discussion right at the start mentioned that he would definitely love to see Dwayne Bravo not playing in this playing 11. Obviously, you have in a format like IPL, you have 4 foreigners to pick, and obviously you need your best 4 foreigners. Just as you can see that Delhi Capitals have kept a player like Steve Smith, and that speaks volumes of their bench strength, the squad they have. So I think the quicker they sort out their loopholes, their weaknesses, the better for them.
Exactly. Guys, I'm trying to confirm who was deemed to be player of the match or man of the match. Do you have that person's name? I'm just trying to check on the system.
Today's match?
This match.
I think Shikhar Dhawan should be.
Shikhar Dhawan got it.
Okay.
He took 2 brilliant catches. And,
Absolutely.
And he scored those important runs. He should logically be the man of the match.
Although it's not always logical who's picked as player of the match. Quite often you do see someone who you would not so much expect to play, but in this case, you're right. Shikhar Dhawan was certainly there. But Prithvi Shaw could easily have had that mantle as well. His batting was very significant at a very important stage. I'm going to make this very clear. As far as this tournament is concerned, or in fact any tournament is concerned, the top 3 batters have to fire. That is extremely important. And that's where you set the tone of a T20 match every single time. Very rarely does a side lose early wickets and win a match. Generally, the early stages of a batting performance is where you set the tone. Unless, of course, you've got AB de Villiers coming in towards the end. He may change things for you. But in general, your top 3 have to fire. Would you agree, guys?
Absolutely.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Just a confirmation, Shikhar Dhawan is the man of the match. I just checked it on my phone. And
and Norman, I want to just sorry.
No, carry on. Suresh, please carry on.
Yeah, I just want to add, there was a comment on Robin Uthappa. To be honest, and as we have been saying, it's just the first game for CSK. Last year, if you see, they were struggling at the top. They had a couple of changes in the opening pair. And it was at the fag end of the league when Faf du Plessis and Ruturaj did very well. Rather, Ruturaj got 250s in the last 3 games. So it was fair for them to start with this opening pair. Yes, they've gotten Robin Uthappa. Maybe later on in the league, he could come in if there is any batsman not in form. But I think starting with Ruturaj and Faf was the right choice.
Yes, I also think so, because
fair enough. Yeah, absolutely.
Robin Uthappa will come in if Ambati Rayudu fails. So I think that's the right place for him. And I can't see Robin Uthappa batting lower down. If he has to bat, he has to bat where Rayudu and Raina are playing. But in a first match, how do you decide that who is your best 11? You always go by tradition. You go by history. Rayudu has done very well for CSK. Ruturaj, as you have mentioned, he was one of the guys who had COVID in UAE. But when he started playing, he batted very well. And if I remember right, Stephen Fleming had said that he was one of the finds of the CSK team, despite the team finishing last. So he will always back those kind of players. And I think Dhoni is one person who will back youngsters. But yes, definitely at some stage you will see Robin Uthappa playing.
What about the positioning of Moeen Ali at first drop? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that's another option. In fact, if they have to strengthen their bowling, Jason Beardorf and Ngidi can both come in there. That will strengthen their bowling. And you can see with Moeen Ali's play. So, in fact, you're quite right, Norman. In fact, Moeen Ali's position and Ambati, those 3 positions are, those will be the flexible areas where, they can try many options. And maybe you can see Dhoni coming up the order if he continues to fail at the place where he's coming to bat.
And I would see Suresh Raina being promoted at number 3. Obviously, he showed that he has not lost his touch. The fact that he did not do well inside Mustaq Ali Trophy, but then he showed signs that he's coming back to, and his half century today itself is a proof that he still has cricket left in him. So it won't be a bad idea for CSK to send Raina at number 3, and maybe it gets a little higher up the order for Sam Curran as well.
No doubt, especially the form that he's in. But I do like seeing Raina bat. It's just magical, isn't it? He clubs that ball like none other, and you've got to respect him for his performance today. It was quite dynamic, considering he's also rusty as such.
And with Moeen Ali, Sam Curran, Raina, and Jadeja, all 4 being left-handers, I think there is a lot of potential for them to be very destructive and get the bowlers off their line. And that's what it is. To be fair, it's their first game, so I'm sure they would come back well.
Yeah, I mean, these are very first early days. I mean, there'll be a lot of experimentation. There will be a lot of changes, but as an IPL fan, as a cricket fan, you always want the big teams to do well, because that's you always want Manchester United to win, you always want Chelsea to win, you want Arsenal to win. But but again, you will always find the lesser teams upsetting them, and those are the big days. So that's the beauty of sport. I mean, it is such a great level, you really don't know, and that is what IPL is all about. Any team can win.
Absolutely true. That's the beauty of this tournament. We've got 56 group matches with the 4 playoffs. It's a long tournament. By no means is it short.
Yeah.
And imagine imagine my head after 56 nights in Australia being up at 5 in the morning. Please support me. I will need a stiff drink to get through this. No, won't you?
Yeah.
No. Debashis, there's a bit more of a smile coming on your face gradually. I'm noticing a few extra smiles. That's good. Now, guys.
Why is he wearing the hat?
Well, he's a Chelsea fan, apparently.
Oh.
I mean, I've got my MCC cap. I'm just showing off, of course. All right, guys, we do digress. But I think it's been a fantastic discussion. You guys are very sophisticated, Naresh, Sumitra. I'm very impressed. You've lifted the standards of that. Not that I'm knocking anyone before, of course, but you guys have been fantastic. I've enjoyed this conversation greatly. I certainly have. Okay, where to from here? We're moving into some interesting matches coming up as well. We're going to see Sunrisers and Hyderabad in full force. They're another so-called smoky in this tournament. I think the hunger is there on their side, not unlike Delhi Capitals. That'll be an interesting match. Of course, they're playing KKR, who was really my soft spot favourite. And I do like those teams. It's a romantic competition. There are so many teams that have great favourites. I do think highly of those teams. I think the next game between Sunrisers and Kolkata Knight Riders will also be an intriguing one. Certainly will live up to expectation. But my upshot of today is that Delhi Capitals are a force to be reckoned with. The way they went about this match, regardless of the rustiness of CSK and whatever you want to say, there was a potency about Delhi today. Having not got their full side, their batting was very potent. I mean, Prithvi Shaw, you could argue, has a point to prove. Darwin always seems to have to prove himself as well. And then you've got someone like Rishabh Pant who can come in and absolutely tear a team apart. They're going to be very difficult to hold down, aren't they? All right, Sumitra, last thoughts. I'm going to ask you for a long-term prediction who's going to win this tournament. Despite all what was said, Sumitra, guys, Naresh and Sumitra, you're not aware, Debashis, I have a crystal ball here. It sometimes is a chocolate milkshake container, but my crystal ball tells me a lot of very interesting things. It tells me that Naresh has a lovely smile. I can see that. No,
thank you.
my crystal ball says Delhi Capitals. What does your crystal ball say, Sumitra? What does your crystal ball say?
I like to see a new champion.
Why?
It's good for the sport. I mean, it's good for the tournament because, and that only and the three teams which haven't won are obviously Delhi is one of them, your favorite. RCB is one of them. They always try, they always, like the eternal bridesmaid, they lose out. And of course, Kings 11 Punjab. They have spent a lot of money. They have spent a lot of money on buying players, and I always want to see the big boss doing well. So, but if you have to ask me one team, I would like to see Delhi winning it.
That's true. When you say the big boss, you mean the universal boss, don't you, Chris Gale?
Universal boss.
Yeah.
Absolutely. See, this sport, I think, for me, I don't take T20 too seriously. It is not Test cricket. It is all about entertainment. And if there's one man who defines that word, that's Gale.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even now, even today.
I mean, I'm a Test purist too, by the way, Sumitra. I'm of an age where Test cricket ruled, but I'm warming up to IPL after 14 years of watching. I'm warming up. Naresh.
Yeah, that's reality, Norman. I mean, we all have to understand that this is the way forward. But the point is, the last many series of Test cricket that we've seen, India, England, India, Australia, England or West Indies, I think it's fantastic times for Test cricket as well. And I think all the formats should coexist. And I'm very happy that India can excel in all the three formats. And the other teams will not play catch up, but produce equally good players who are capable of playing all the three formats, which the Indians can do very easily now.
Very, very true. In fact, next time, Sumitra, you come to Australia, you're coming with me to Barrel to Bradman's home. I'm going to take you on a special tour.
Thank you.
Behind the scenes tour, as Debashis knows all about. Now,
I've never been to Australia, though.
Sorry?
I've never been to Australia. I would like to come one day.
I beg your pardon. That's an insult. You're going to come next time. I'm going to take you by the
Sure.
ear and bring you to Australia.
Sure, I will. Thank you very much.
Now, I don't know why Debashes has put this question up. I don't think it's relevant here. Thank you, Norman, for staying awake. That's a nice
Yes.
comment. Now, Naresh, okay, well, so Sumitra thinks Delhi Capital, so do I. Naresh, what's your crystal ball saying?
I'm a Mumbai Indians fan. I'm a Mumbai boy actually. So, but yeah. To be fair, it will be good to see a new trophy winner. Delhi has been a very exciting team. Last year also they did very well. They started off well. It was quite disappointing the way they went downwards last, but they had enough points on the table to be in the top four. They need to be consistent this year. That's one thing. Punjab is going to cause a lot of surprises this year. I feel that the team formation looks much better. So last year was very close. If you see the point tables, the net run rate is going to make a huge difference once again. And I think all teams realize it the way Delhi was chasing today. They know it. If they can get it quickly, they will go and get it quickly so that the net run rate is always healthy. So, yeah, it's going to be very exciting. Too early now to predict the winner.
Okay.
And Rajasthan Royals will be the dark horse.
Oh, I'm going to write that down, Sumitra. You said that with great confidence. I'm now going to have to write that down.
So look at the England players they have. They're all very good.
True.
Stokes, Butler, they're all very, very quality players.
Very English-centric, especially with Ben Stokes and Butler opening up the batting.
Yes,
I agree.
yes. And since the World Cup will be held in India, they will do everything to make sure that they get all the knowledge, all the Indian conditions, so that they can take it forward for the World Cup.
That's a key opening pair for sure. All right, so we've got the dark horses of Rajasthan Royals from Sumitra, and Naresh thinks Punjab Kings is a dark horse. My dark horse is, I think, ultimately my favourite, which is Delhi Capitals to an extent. Debashes, who's going to win and who's your dark horse?
Obviously, my dark horse, definitely Norman. After today's game,
Norman, did you say Norman's your dark horse? I'm not your dark horse.
No, Norman. I'm saying that I think Delhi Capitals would be the dark horse for me. The brand of cricket they have displayed today, and I definitely they will put a lot of teams in trouble. And obviously, Chennai Super Kings. I would still love to see Chennai Super Kings bouncing back and at least making it to the playoffs. Obviously, you cannot count Mahendra Singh Dhoni out too early. It's only the first match. I am sure that there will be a lot of talking between Dhoni and Stephen Fleming in the dressing room, and senior pros need to lead from the front, particularly the guys of Rainas, the Raidus. They need to stand up, and I definitely would love to see Chennai Super Kings making it to the playoffs. But if you say who would be the dark horse, definitely Delhi Capitals.
But who will win? He hasn't answered your question.
No, Soumitra, it's very tough to say who would win in this format.
No, we all know that. We're all taking guesses. The crystal ball is there. Yeah.
The reality is, if we move the camera to the right, we'll see a wall-to-wall picture of MS Dhoni on Debashes' wall. So that's just to let you know that's there. So come on, spit it out. Who's going to win?
I would say it will be between Delhi Capitals and Mumbai Indians.
No, again, two. You have to make one choice.
Oh,
exactly.
Delhi Capitals.
Playing 8 teams.
Delhi Capitals.
Delhi Capitals with 3 people. Delhi Capitals. Oh.
Did you hear that? I can't believe that. I'm gonna edit this video down to certain aspects. You saying I'm your dark horse and Delhi Capitals. That's now going to be edited in for our promotional reels, I think, from Extra Time. All right, guys. Thank you very much for your time. It's been magnificent. This has been. I could have another 2 hours with you guys. I'm already warming to you, Naresh and Sumitra. I have a natural affinity. Even though I crossed over your names with dyslexia, I said, Naresh, you are Sumitra. I think that would be a very appropriate name for you. No. All right, guys. Thanks for your time. It's been wonderful. Great to meet you. And we'll be talking. I'm hoping you both come on more often. You have no excuse.
Sure, Norman. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay,
Look
good.
forward.
All right. Thanks,
Bye.
Devashish. Look, guys,
Bye.
this
Thank
is
you.
Bye,
Norman
Naresh.
Koch.
Norman,
Thanks,
for
Bye,
having us.
Devashish.
Thank you.
Thank you,
you,
guys. Good night. Good night, and
Bye-bye.
good
Thank
morning
you.
to you,
Bye-bye.
Raman. Bye.
Bye-bye. So don't forget, Norman Koch